Zheng Shu asks. Shiyue, are you feeling all right? Shiyue replies, Mr. Xian is looking at me, so I feel scared. Zheng Shu looks at Xian and says, you shouldn't worry, he is looking at me. The conference continues, but Shiyue feels very bored, so she says to Zheng Shu, I'm going to use the restroom, using it as an excuse to leave the conference. However, Xian notices her leaving and announces, the first half of the presentation is over, addressing Shiyue. During the break, a boy named Bo Ming approaches Zheng Shu and says, I'm a journalist and I did my internship at Financial Review. They add each other on WeChat. Seeing them, Xian feels jealous and calls Zheng Shu over to his side. Zheng Shu looks pleased and says, he's getting jealous. She walks over to Xian and asks, is there anything I can help you with? Xian asks, where's the journalist who was sitting with you? Zheng Shu responds, Shiyue has gone out. Xian tells Zheng Shu, contact Shiyue for me. Zheng Shu calls Shiyue and asks, where are you? Shiyue answers, I'm in the lobby, but I'll come back if you ask me to. Zheng Shu then says, if you're not feeling well, you don't need to come back. Shiyue doesn't understand what Zheng Shu is discussing with her. Xian asks, where did she go? And Zheng Shu replies, she went home because she wasn't feeling well. Xian inquires, what's wrong with her? Zheng Shu answers, she has CEO phobia, and whenever she sees someone like you, she can't breathe. But I am very different from her because whenever I see you, I feel happy and excited. A man approaches them and announces, the second half of the conference is about to begin. Hearing this, Xian leaves. Meanwhile, Shiyue is trying to get coffee, but the coffee machine isn't working properly. Yu appears and touches the machine, causing Shiyue's coffee to come out. Shiyue, finding Yu cute, says, thank you. Yu leaves, and when Shiyue returns to the conference, she sees Yu giving a speech. Hearing Yu, Shiyue remembers that she heard his interview while writing the draft, and she really liked him at that time. Now, seeing him, she feels very happy. After the conference ends, many reporters surround Xian, asking questions. Zheng Shu is leaving when she gets a call from Shiyue, who asks, who was giving a speech on the stage just now? Zheng Shu answers, Xian was giving the speech. Shiyue hangs up and thinks, why these all always focused on my uncle? They doesn't notice anyone else. At that moment, Xian approaches Shiyue and scolds her. This was your first press conference, and you weren't even attentive, you were sleepy. Shiyue replies, I will work hard in the future and it won't happen again. Please forgive me, uncle. She holds Xian's arm. Later, when Zheng Shu goes out with Yu, she feels jealous seeing them together. Shiyue notices Zheng Shu watching them and says to her uncle, if you don't want my senior to know about our relationship, you should let me go. Xian signals her, and she leaves. As Xian is walking toward Zheng Shu, she says, I have some important work, and leaves. Xian then asks Yu, what did she say to you? Yu replies, she invited me for dinner and interview. As Zheng Shu is leaving, she notices Shiyan following her but tells herself, I won't talk to him now. She has to stop because there's no way forward. Shiyan asks, why are you standing here? What are you doing? Zheng Shu answers, I'm praying. Shiyan tells Zheng Shu, I'm leaving. And Zheng Shu says, go, I won't stop you. Shiyan takes her hand and says, I'm taking you home. They walk back together, but Zheng Shu, feeling jealous, doesn't talk to him. Shiyan says, it will rain at 8 o'clock tonight. Zheng Shu asks, will you bring an umbrella for me? At that moment, Shiyan receives a call and gets busy talking, and Zheng Shu falls asleep, leaning towards Shiyan. He gently puts his hand under her head and waits until she wakes up. When Zheng Shu opens her eyes and sees Shiyan, she says, I need to talk to you about something important. Shiyan gets exited, but she talks about her special coverage, so he becomes displeased. He tells her, if you want to meet me, you should make an appointment through the assistant. Zheng Shu thanks him for dropping her off at home and leaves. After reaching home, Zheng Shu thinks, Shiyan came to drop me off, but he was flirting with Shiyue in the morning. She feels angry, thinking, Shiyan is trying to have a relationship with two girls at the same time. Shiyan, meanwhile, is feeling upset at the office. Zheng Shu and Shiyan call Gonzi and Shen together, who had spent the night with each other, both of them inviting them to have drinks, but both refuse. Zheng Shu and Shiyan are surprised by their refusal. The next day at the office, Shiyue wonders, how can I contact you? Zheng Shu talks to her mother, who says, you should go on a blind date. Zheng Shu refuses, I won't go. Her mother insists, and Zheng Shu agrees reluctantly, I'll go after I finish my work. In a meeting, Ms. Yi tells everyone, Shiyan's interview received a very good response. You should all learn from Zheng Shu's hard work, Yu Ling. Feeling jealous, her colleagues tell Zheng Shu, everyone wants to celebrate your success with a party today. Zheng Shu ignores them and focusing on her work. Yu Ling goes to her and says, we are talking to you. Then Zheng Shu says, I was wearing earphones to avoid noise. That's why I couldn't hear your voice. Then Yunling says, everyone is asking treat for your success. She says, "You can choose any place. I'm ready to treat you." Shu Yue then realizes, so Zeng Shu didn't respond to me on the first day because she was wearing special headphones. I spoke so badly about her in front of my uncle. When Shi Yan goes to Shu Yue, she tells him, Zeng Shu didn't intentionally ignore me on the first day. Shi Yan asks, "What are you trying to say?" Shu Yue replies, "There was a misunderstanding, and I want to apologize to her, but she don't know that I have said so many bad things about her in front of you. Uncle, you also don't treat Zeng Shu well. Why don't you go and apologize to her?" Shi Yan tells her, "Resolve this matter as soon as possible." On the other hand, Zeng Shu tells Shen, Shi Yan knows Shu Yue, and he cares about her a lot. Shen says, Shu Yue's family is strong too. They might be a good match. Why are you upset? Are you jealous? Zeng Shu denies, "I'm not jealous, but I have feelings for him." Shen is surprised and advises, "If both of you work together, people will gossip. You shouldn't start a relationship that has no future." Zeng Shu responds, "When it comes to relationships, I always follow my heart." Meanwhile, Shi Yan is looking at Zeng Shu's messages but hasn't replied. Zeng Shu thinks, he must want to have dinner with me. Maybe I should invite him to the concert. Shi Yan also likes Song Li's music. Shi Yan, on the other hand, thinks about taking her to the concert. Zeng Shu notices someone has added her on WeChat under the name SY. She realizes that's Shi Yan's name and feels happy. She invites Shi Yan to the concert, and he agrees. Zeng Shu feels surprised and happy that her plan worked so quickly. Shen also invites Ganzi to the concert, and Ganzi agrees. The next day, Zeng Shu arrives at the concert and waits for Shi Yan. When Shi Yan appears, Zeng Shu feels overjoyed to see him, but it turns out this was all a dream. After waking up, she sends a message to Shi Yan saying, "Don't forget about the concert tonight." Zeng Shu is busy getting ready, and on the other side, Shi Yan is also preparing himself. A while later, Zeng Shu sets out for the concert. At a stall, she finds a hairband she really likes. Looking at it, she thinks that Zeng Shu and Shi Yan will wear matching couple hairbands, and this thought makes her very happy. Zeng Shu is waiting for Shi Yan when a sports car pulls up. Zeng Shu gets excited, but instead of Shi Yan, Shu Yue steps out of the car. Zeng Shu is surprised and asks, "What a coincidence." Shu Yue replies, "It's not a coincidence. You invited me here." Zeng Shu was about to say that she didn't invite Shu Yue when she remembers that there was only written SY on WeChat, and Shu Yue's name also starts with those same letters. To avoid embarrassment, Zeng Shu says, "I was just kidding." Shu Yue walks inside. Zeng Shu feels bad because she knows she won't be able to enjoy the concert with Shi Yan due to her mistake. At the same concert, Shi Yan also arrives. Shen, Gongzi, and Yu also attending the concert. Shu Yue asks Zeng Shu, "What's wrong?" Zeng Shu replies, "This song is very sad." Shu Yue says, "You also went through a breakup, so you are feeling emotional." Zeng Shu clarifies, "I'm not emotional about that. My ex-boyfriend cheated on me." Shu Yue says, "You are so beautiful. I can't believe he cheated on you." Zeng Shu explains, "He cared more about money than me, and the girl he was having an affair with has a very wealthy uncle." Shu Yue advises, "You shouldn't think too much about it." Both of them start enjoying the concert. Shu Yue is leaving when she sees Yu and says, "Is he also a fan of my mom?" She sends a message to her mom, "Mom, I need your limited edition album." Just then, Yu encounters Zeng Shu. Zeng Shu says, "What a coincidence, we meet here." Yu explains, "Shi Yan gave me tickets, so I came to enjoy the concert." Zeng Shu asks, "Can we do the interview this week?" Yu says, "We can do the interview this Tuesday." Zeng Shu doesn't have any problem with the date. Yu is about to offer to drop Zeng Shu home when Shi Yan sees them together. Then Zeng Shu says, "Thanks, but my cab is coming." Yu leaves. Zeng Shu is waiting for her cab when Shi Yan stops his car. Seeing him, Zeng Shu starts acting and says, "My ankle is twisted. This happened because of you, so you are responsible." Shu Yan asks for the reason. Zeng Shu says, "Whenever I see you, I lose focus on the road." Just then, Zeng Shu receives a call and steps aside to answer it. Shi Yan sees her walking and realizes she was just acting, so he leaves. Zeng Shu tries to stop Shi Yan, but he doesn't stop. She runs after him to stop him, and she actually twists her ankle. Shi Yan is watching Zeng Shu through his side mirror. Zeng Shu keeps yelling at Shi Yan, "How can anyone be so heartless? People like him should grow old alone." Shi Yan drives back to her and hears what she said. Zeng Shu says, "I will explain it all to you in the car." They are stopped at a signal when Shi Yan says, "You haven't explained anything yet." Zeng Shu says, "My ankle is hurting so much. Shiyan looks at her and says, "You can still talk so much even with your injury." Shiyan takes Zhengshu to the hospital and says, "Let's go and see the doctor." Zhengshu says, "My ankle is hurting. I can't walk." Shiyan says, "You are exaggerating things." Zhengshu says, "Are you made of stone?" Shiyan says, "You said yourself that I have no heart." Zhengshu says, "Try wearing these shoes yourself. Then you will understand how much pain you feel if you sprain your ankle." Shiyan lifts her, takes her out of the car, and starts taking her to the hospital. Zhengshu says to Shiyan, "Did your ex-girlfriend ever tell you that you look very handsome in this angel?" Shiyan says, "Did your ex-boyfriend ever tell you that you are very heavy?" Zhengshu replies, "No one has ever lifted me like this, but you could be the first boyfriend to did it." Shiyan doesn't respond to her. When the doctor is examining Zhengshu, Zhengshu tells the doctor, "My ankle is hurting so much." Shiyan steps outside to answer a call. Zhengshu immediately acts normal. The doctor understands that Zhengshu was faking it. The doctor says, "Your boyfriend is handsome, but he seems a bit unromantic and heartless." Zhengshu says, "Don't say that." Outside, Shiyan hears this conversation and smiles. Zhengshu says he doesn't even have a heart. Hearing this, Shiyan's smile disappears and he leaves. Zhengshu waits for Shiyan, but the nurse comes with a wheelchair. The nurse puts Zhengshu in the wheelchair and takes her to Shiyan. Zhengshu says to Shiyan, "I still can't walk." Shiyan is coming towards Zhengshu when a cat passes by. Zhengshu gets scared and runs to Shiyan. Now realizing that Shiyan has figured out her act, she says, "The doctor has treated me very well." Shiyan asks, "Can you get in the car yourself now?" Zhengshu quickly gets in the car. On the way back, he gets a call from Gongzi and puts it on speakerphone. He asks Shiyan, "Are you still in touch with your ex-girlfriend who was very beautiful? Because my friend wants to cast her in a movie. If you don't mind, can you introduce her?" Shiyan replies, "I think her acting skills are average. The girl sitting with me in the car have much better acting skills." Hearing this, Gongzi hangs up the call, while Zhengshu is extremely embarrassed. Shiyan goes to see Shiyue and her mom. Shiyue's mom asks, "What's going on between you and your senior?" Shiyue replies, "I sent my senior a WeChat request, and she accepted it immediately. After that, she also invited me to the concert." Shiyan is surprised and asks, "She invited you to the concert?" Shiyue says, "But she acted very strange. It seemed like she didn't invite me." Shiyan understands the situation. He congratulates his sister for her talent. Shiyue receives a message from Zhengshu. Seeing this, Shiyue says, "Mom, do you know that uncle is dating another actress? Gongzi told me about it." Shiyue's mom asks, "Who is she?" Shiyan says, "They are just making up stories." Shiyue's mom says, "Uncle Shang has a family gathering tomorrow. If you are not dating anyone, take Shiyue with you." Shiyan says, "Okay." Zhengshu transfers the money for the hospital bill to Shiyan, but Shiyan sends the money back to Zhengshu and says, "You can keep this check as payment for your acting today." They continue talking. Zhengshu invites Shiyan for dinner tomorrow. Shiyan agrees. Zhengshu sends Shiyan pictures of her dresses and asks, "Which one should I wear?" Shiyan tells her, "The red one." But none of the dresses in the pictures she sent were red. The next day, Zhengshu goes shopping for a red dress. When Zhengshu steps out of the trial room, she sees that Xing has arrived with his girlfriend. Xing's girlfriend Chen Li is wearing the same dress as Zhengshu. Chen Li is jealous because Zhengshu looks prettier in the dress. Meanwhile, Shiyan has gone horseback riding with Gongzi and Yu. Zhengshu sends him pictures of her dress. Shiyan is smiling while looking at his phone. Gongzi says, "If you don't have a date, I will go with you tonight." But Shiyan says, "I am not going on a date with you," and leaves. On the other side, Chen Li and Zhengshu are competing with each other by trying different dresses. Chen Li is buying a lot of clothes to show off to Zhengshu. A worker comes up to Zhengshu and says, "These clothes look great on you. Are you going to buy them all?" But Zhengshu doesn't want to buy so many clothes. Just then, Shiyue arrives and says to Zhengshu, "You've already chosen your clothes, so don't think about it too much." She pays for all the clothes quickly. Zhengshu says to Shiyue, "You shouldn't buy all these clothes." Shiyue says, "Don't worry, I am paying with my uncle's card." Zhengshu says, "That's even worse, because I don't even know your uncle." Shiyue says, "You want these clothes, so you can't change your mind now. And you have to maintain your status in front of Chen Li." Shiyue insists, and Zhengshu has to agree. Shiyue says to Chen Li, "You picked the most worst clothes in the store. You saved me time by doing that." Hearing this, Chen Li gets angry, so Xing takes her away from there. Zhengshu is coming back to home when Shiyan is waiting for her in the car. She thinks to herself, "Maybe I overdressed a bit." Zhengshu is going home, but Shiyan comes to her. Shiyan asks, Where are you going? Zheng Shu replies, I am going inside to change of clothes. Zheng Shu is about to leave when Xu Yan stops her and says, no need to change clothes, you look great in this. He takes her to the car to sit down. He takes her to a place. Zheng Shu asks, what are you looking at? Xu Yan says, you look very beautiful today. Hearing this, Zheng Shu starts smiling. Xu Yan tells her that it's time to go to the family banquet. Zheng Shu says, you were supposed to have dinner with me, weren't you? Xu Yan says, isn't it also an option to have dinner with you? Zheng Shu says, this dinner is not what I had in mind. As they enter, everyone starts gossiping about how this is Xu Yan's new girlfriend. Zheng Shu is getting very bored at this dinner when she receives a message from Xing. He is apologizing to her and says, I need to talk to you about something very important. When Xu Yan is about to say something, he notices her messages and she feels very embarrassed. Xing asks, what are you doing? She quickly types, I am picking out a cake. Just then, a waitress arrives with a cake that Xu Yan had ordered for Zheng Shu. Zheng Shu thinks to herself, I can't believe Xu Yan is making fun of me in front of all these people. The people around them start discussing whether Xu Yan's new girlfriend knows why his ex-girlfriend left him. One lady scoffs, why would she care? She must have seen more than just his looks, his family background as well. Hearing these comments, Zheng Shu gets angry. As she turns around, she suddenly sees Xu Yan standing right there. Xu Yan notices that Zheng Shu is upset and gently asks, do you want something to eat? Zheng Shu snaps, no, I'm tired. We should go back now. They leave together, but Zheng Shu is still upset because of those harsh comments she overheard. Xu Yan, of course, notices her mood. When they finally arrive at Zheng Shu's home, she thanks Xu Yan for everything and starts to walk away. Xu Yan quickly follows and calls out, Zheng Shu, wait! But she doesn't stop. Xu Yan grabs her arm. Can't you hear me? Zheng Shu replies, yes, I can hear you. Xu Yan asks, then why aren't you happy? Zheng Shu stays silent. Xu Yan asks, what did you get out of dinner tonight? Zheng Shu says, I heard a few things about you. Xu Yan steps closer and asks, do you believe those things? Zheng Shu responds, no, I only believe what you tell me. Xu Yan then asks, do you want to know more about me? Zheng Shu replies, is it possible for me to not know? They both get into the car, the tension still thick in the air. Xu Yan then says, what more do you want to know? They've already talked about my personal life and work. Zheng Shu replies, how can they know everything about you? If we can judge someone after only a few meetings, then you must be a wise and handsome businessman in my eyes. Xu Yan smirks. If you hadn't told me this, I would have never known you think so highly of me. Zheng Shu quickly clarifies, I was just giving an example, that's not what I meant. Just as Xu Yan is about to kiss her, a security guard suddenly knocks on the window. You can't park here! Zheng Shu feels embarrassed. She quickly exits the car and rushes home. Xu Yan stays behind, watching her leave. Later, Zheng Shu calls Shen and says, Xu Yan have seen the messages from my ex-boyfriend. Shen replies, good. He needs to know that other guys are chasing you. Just wait and see what Xu Yan will do next. Shen hangs up because she's with Gongzi. Meanwhile, Zheng Shu is still thinking about what Xu Yan really wants. The next day, Zheng Shu is in her office when her mother calls and says, can you meet my friend's son this weekend? He just came back from abroad and he's very handsome. You should definitely meet him. Zheng Shu is uninterested in blind date and refuses. Her mother, not giving up, asks, what kind of guy do you want? Zheng Shu thinks of Xu Yan and ends up telling her mother about her idol boyfriend. Her mother, excited, says, he fits all your requirements. I'm sending you his WeChat now. But when Zheng Shu checks, the WeChat ID belongs to Mr. Yu. Zheng Shu tells her mother, okay, I'll go meet him. Meanwhile, Yu is waiting for the girl his mother set him up with. When Zheng Shu arrives, she says, I didn't expect it to be you. Yu, equally surprised, says, if you knew about this, why didn't you message me on WeChat? Zheng Shu replies, if I had, my mom would have known that we already know each other. At the same time, Xu Yan is in his office thinking about Zheng Shu. He texts her, asking, when will you come to get your things back? Zheng Shu, on her way back from the restaurant, replies, what did I forget to bring? Xu Yan texts back, you forgot your shopping bags. Zheng Shu suddenly remembers she left them at his place and replies, can you deliver them? Xu Yan replies, I'm very busy, I can't. Zheng Shu then says, wait, I'll come and get them myself. As soon as Xu Yan sees the message, he leaves his office. At home, Xu Yan is cooking dinner. He finishes cooking just as Zheng Shu arrives. As soon as she enters, Xu Yan invites her to eat. Zheng Shu happily sits down and enjoys the food, asking, where did you order this from? Xu Yan smiles and replies, it's from a place where you can't order food. Zheng Shu then asks about the special report. Can we start working on it? Xu Yan replies, I don't talk about work during my private time. Zheng Shu quickly finishes her dinner and asks, "Where's my stuff?" Shi Yan brings her the bags. She thanks him and leaves in a hurry. Shi Yan, disappointed, watches her go, wishing he could have spent more time with her. When Zheng Shu is on her way back, Miss Shu calls her and says, "There's a big event you need to attend." Zheng Shu replies, "Okay, we'll talk about it tomorrow." Meanwhile, Shen is out with her colleagues when she spots Gongzi drinking with another girl. Shen is not happy. The next morning, Zheng Shu returns everything she took from the office and heads out to attend the event. In the office, Shu Wei is thinking about contacting Yu. She tells Nian, "Don't be lazy. I'm keeping an eye on you instead of Zheng Shu." Shu Wei realizes she has collected a lot of information about Yu. As she reads through it, she gets an idea. She decides to go to the university where Yu teaches. During Yu's lecture, she finds herself just staring at him, thinking he looks even better in person. But soon, she starts feeling sleepy and accidentally falls asleep. When she wakes up, the lecture is over, and she rushes to Yu asking, "Can I add Yu on WeChat? I have some questions about the lecture that I didn't understand." Fu replies, "You can ask me now if there's anything you didn't understand." Shu Yue says, "Do you remember we met at the press conference?" Yu replies, "I remember, but what do you want?" Shu Yue says, "I just want to add you on WeChat." Yu replies, "Are you just coming all this way to get my WeChat?" She quickly explains, "I'm an intern in the financial introduction department, and Zheng Shu is my supervisor." Yu, interested after hearing Zheng Shu's name. Then she asks, "Can I come to your next class?" Yu responds, "Yes, but don't fall asleep in my class next time." Finally, Yu adds Shu Yue on WeChat. Later, Zheng Shu is talking to Shen, telling her about her last encounter with Shi Yan. Shen suggests, "You're on a business trip now. Post a picture of your surroundings on WeChat." Zheng Shu replies, "Okay," and does exactly that. On the other hand, Shi Yan and Shi Yue are having dinner when Shi Yue receives some messages. Seeing these, Shi Yan says to Shi Yue, "I didn't know you could get things returned as well." Shi Yan shows the message to her, and she says, "I didn't get this returned. It was Zheng Shu who got it returned." Shocked, Shi Yan starts asking her about this. Shi Yue then tells him, "I bought Zheng Shu some clothes because I wanted to say sorry. Zheng Shu wanted to get the clothes back, but I didn't let her." Hearing this, Shi Yan wants to message Zheng Shu but can't. So Shi Yue says, Zheng Shu is very passionate about her work, and she's still on a business trip. Hearing about the business trip, Shi Yan starts to think. On the other hand, Zheng Shu is working on a business trip and is also uploading posts on her WeChat, which Shi Yan is watching. Zheng Shu looks at her phone and says, "I've uploaded so many posts, but Shi Yan hasn't liked any of them, or even tried to contact me." At that moment, Shen arrives. Zheng Shu asks her, "What are you doing here?" Shen replies, "I came with a colleague on a business trip." Zheng Shu asks Shen, "Did something happen to you?" Shen says no. At night, while Zheng Shu is thinking, Shen receives a call from Gongzi. Gongzi asks her to meet him. Shen says, "I'm on a business trip." Gongzi asks her, "When are you coming back?" Shen says, "I don't know." Saying this, she hangs up the call. The next morning, Zheng Shu wakes up and sees it's snowing. Seeing this, she gets very excited. Xian is looking at Zheng Shu's post and says, "She's having so much fun here that she doesn't even miss home." On the other hand, Shen and Zheng Shu are playing in the snow, and Shen takes some pictures of Zheng Shu and posts them quickly. Shen says, "Trust me, Xian will contact you soon." After seeing this, Xian is looking at Zheng Shu's post and thinks, maybe she's having so much fun here that she doesn't want to come back. Xian now messages Zheng Shu and asks, "When are you coming back?" Seeing this, Shen says, "He misses you." Zheng Shu is about to reply, but Yuling stops her and says, "You don't need to reply so quickly. You should give Xian some space so that he can realize your worth." Zheng Shu sends a question mark in the message. So Xian says, "Uncle Gong wants to meet you." Zheng Shu asks, "Why does he want to meet me?" Xian tells her, "Uncle Gong wants to interview you." In reply, Zheng Shu sends Xian a thank you message. Xian says, "Are you coming back home now?" Zheng Shu says, "Yes, I'll be back very soon." On the other hand, Zheng Shu is very excited because she's going to interview Uncle Gong. When Zheng Shu is coming back, she messages Xian, "I'm back. We'll meet soon." On the other side, Xian has already reached Uncle Gong. And at this time, someone hits Zheng Shu's car. Now the taxi driver and the man are arguing. Zheng Shu gets a call from Xian, who says, "Uncle Gong is waiting for you." Zheng Shu replies, "I'm sorry. I'm on my way." Hearing their fight in the background, Xian asks, "What's happening there?" Zheng Shu tells him, "Someone hit my car." Xian says, "Send me the address. I'll send my assistant to pick you up." As soon as Xian's car arrives, Zheng Shu rushes to it. Xian comes out and asks, "Are you okay?" Zheng Shu says, "I'm fine." When she checks the time, she exclaims, I'm going to be very late for the interview. Quickly, take my bag from the car. She grabs the bag, hands it to Shiyan, and quickly gets into the car. Shiyan picks up her bag and moves ahead. Shiyan and Zhengshu then arrive at Uncle Gong's place. Before the interview begins, Mr. Gong offers Zhengshu some tea. Zhengshu says, I don't usually drink tea. Shiyan interjects, you should try it. It even has snow water in it. Zhengshu asks, what's so special about snow water? Shiyan responds, don't you like snow? Uncle Gong chimes in, how do you know that Zhengshu likes snow? Shiyan replies, I saw her WeChat posts. Shiyan then steps outside as Zhengshu begins the interview with Mr. Gong. Shiyan watches her from outside. When the interview ends, Shiyan tells Uncle Gong, lunch is ready. Zhengshu tries to leave, but Uncle Gong insists, you can't leave without lunch. During lunch, Uncle Gong praises Zhengshu's work. He says, who wouldn't want to interview an intelligent female journalist? Zhengshu says, Shiyan likes female journalists very much too. Shiyan looks at her angrily. Zhengshu insists, I'm not wrong. At the last press conference, my colleague who came with me, you were looking at her for a long time. Shiyan denies, I didn't do anything like that. They start arguing, and Uncle Gong quietly leaves them alone. Zhengshu says, but you seemed very worried about her that day. Shiyan explains, I was just teasing you that day. Zhengshu asks, are you telling the truth? Shiyan responds, what should I do to convince you? Zhengshu replies, I want to eat these shrimp. Shiyan just looks at her. Zhengshu continues, if you don't peel them for me, then I will. She peels one shrimp and gives it to Shiyan. Seeing this, Shiyan is very happy. Then, as they head outside, Shiyan asks Zhengshu to get in the car. Zhengshu says, the weather is so good today. I want to walk. Will you walk with me? Shiyan teases, your demands keep growing. Zhengshu smiles, I'm not just making demands. I've also written a poem for you. It means you were jealous when I was playing with snow. Shiyan laughs and says, you're right. Now Zhengshu wants to do special coverage on his company. She is talking to Shiyan about it, and Shiyan says, okay, you can do that. But I have two conditions. First, you will understand how my company works. And second, you will understand my philosophy of work. Zhengshu says, I can't miss this opportunity to learn from you. I accept your conditions. Shiyan warns her, if I find anything wrong with the report, I will stop the special coverage. Sitting in the car, Zhengshu confidently says, I won't give you a chance to do that. I will work very hard. As Zhengshu leaves, Shiyan watches her go and says to himself, Zhengshu doesn't know me well yet. I'll wait for the day when she does. After that, I'll make my decision. Now Shen also returns from Wucheng. At the airport, Gongzi is there to pick her up. He says, I missed you so much. Shen hands him her bag and walks ahead. Miss Shu calls Yuling to her office. Yuling demands, why hasn't my interview been published on the front page this month? Miss Shi responds, the editor-in-chief and I know you've worked hard, but this morning, Zhengshu interviewed Mr. Gong, and if we don't publish Mr. Gong's interview, everyone in the industry will make fun of us for letting such a good opportunity slip away. Yuling becomes so jealous that she angrily says, I don't know what she did to get this interview, but I know Mr. Gong. He's not the kind of person you think he is. Then Yuling, fuming with jealousy, walks out of Miss Shi's office. Yuling goes to Zhengshu and accuses her, did you spend all your money to interview Mr. Gong? Zhengshu replies, I've always wanted to interview Mr. Gong, and he called me himself to do the interview. Yuling says, I know it's not just luck. You used your beauty to get this interview. Zhengshu says, even if I am relying on my beauty, you should worry about yourself. Do you think you're still doing a good job? Just then, Miss Shai arrives and takes Zhengshu to her office. Zhengshu tells Miss Shai that Xian has agreed to do a special report with her. Miss Shai, pleased, says, you should start working on the Mr. Gong interview as soon as possible. Zhengshu replies, don't worry, I will revise the interview and give it to you in 2 days. Later, while working, Zhengshu sends messages to Xian, but he curtly replies, I'm busy. Still, Zhengshu asks if she can take him to dinner to thank him. Meanwhile, Shiyue's mom visits, and during lunch, Shiyue casually mentions, you must remember my senior, the one I went to the concert with? His mom responds, yes. Shiyue continues, today Zhengshu interviewed Uncle Gong, and our chief editor was thrilled about this interview. Zhengshu said it's her luck that she got this interview. Shiyan smiles when he hears this, but when he comes back with water, Shiyue is telling her mom, Zhengshu is beautiful, and she's so passionate about her work. Since I've been working here, so many boys have come to chase Zhengshu. Shiyan becomes jealous when he hears this. Then he says, you've talked too much. You should shut up. With that, he goes outside, but later reads Zungshu's message that the weekend will be good for dinner. Both of them are excited for this dinner. As Zungshu gets ready, her mom suddenly arrives home, much to Zungshu's surprise. Her mom insists on taking her to meet Yu. While Zungshu's mom praises Yu, Zungshu is silently thinking, this meeting will take too much time to end. Her mom keeps pushing her to engage with Yu, but Zungshu feels awkward. Meanwhile, Shiyue messages Yu, a great movie just came out. Will you go with me tonight? During lunch, Yu replies, I'm really busy today, so let's watch it another time. Zungshu is furious because her mom's arrival ruined her dinner plans. Shiyue is also frustrated by Yu's reply, thinking, but I've already bought the tickets. Then she quickly messages Zungshu, will you go to the movie with me today? But Zungshu replies, I'm with my mom, so I can't go to the movie with you. Then she tells her mom, Mom, should we go home now? But her mom refuses. On the other hand, Shiyan is taking out clothes for dinner when he suddenly gets a message from Zungshu, my mom has come here so I won't be able to go with you today. Shiyan doesn't like this. Now Zungshu has come to the mall with her mom and Yu, and as soon as they see the movie theater, she quickly tells both of them, you both should watch the movie together. She shows them the tickets, saying, I've already bought the tickets. Seeing this, Zungshu says, it's not good to watch a movie so late, but mom doesn't listen. Just as Zungshu's mom is about to hold Zungshu's hands with Yu, Yu says, wait, I'll get some water first. At that moment, Zungshu snaps a picture of the movie poster and posts it on her WeChat. Afterward, Zungshu and Yu are watching the movie, but she doesn't seem interested at all. Meanwhile, Shiyan messages Zungshu asking, are you watching the movie with your mom? Zungshu replies, yes. Shiyan asks, is the movie good? Zungshu says, why don't you watch this movie with me? Shiyan responds with an emoji and Zungshu wonders, does this mean yes? Now Yu is checking his phone and suddenly, Shiyue posts the entire story of the movie on her WeChat. Seeing this, Yu starts looking around and spots Shiyue sitting there watching the movie. Yu notices Shiyue too. When the movie ends, Zungshu sees Shiyue leaving, so she quickly says goodbye to Yu to avoid being seen by Shiyue. As Yu comes out, he meets Shiyue. Shiyue asks, it's very late. Will you drop me home? Yu agrees. As they are heading back, Shiyue finds a lipstick and she asks Yu, do you have a girlfriend? Yu responds, how do you know it belongs to my girlfriend? When Zungshu finally reaches home, her mom calls and asks, did Yu drop you? Zungshu quickly replies, Yu's house was far, so I didn't ask him to drop me. At that moment, she notices Shiyan standing there waiting for her. As soon as she approaches, Shiyan starts asking, who didn't you ask for a ride from? Zungshu quickly says, we're just friends. She adds, how bright the moon is today. Shiyan grabs her hand and comes closer. Suddenly, Zungshu feels like he's about to kiss her. Shiyan is surprised to see her like this. Zungshu is also embarrassed to see herself. Then he covers her ears and says, where's your hat? It's very cold. Zungshu asks, were you just passing by or did you come here to meet me specially? Shiyan replies, it's 12 o'clock now, and my family lives in Yunwan, so how could I be just passing by here? Hearing this, Zungshu starts smiling. Shiyan then asks, have you prepared the bulletproof for the special report? Zungshu says, don't worry about that. I guarantee there will be no mistakes in my work. She adds, you don't need to supervise my work. Shiyan looks at her carefully, then comes closer and asks, who did you watch the movie with after all? Zungshu says, with my mom. Just as Shiyan is about to ask more about her mom, her phone rings. It's her mom calling. Zungshu picks up and her mom asks, why haven't you come upstairs yet? Zungshu quickly tells Shiyan, my mom is waiting for me. Saying this, she leaves. And now, the interview about Mr. Gong has been published. Shiyan is sitting in his office, reading Uncle Gong's interview too. Suddenly, Shiyan calls in his assistant and tells him, I want to talk to Zungshu about the interview. Just as the assistant is about to leave, Shiyan stops him saying, don't tell her who is going to interview her. Just tell her that he is one of my friends. When the assistant calls Zungshu to inform her about the interview, Zungshu says, I don't have time this month. There's a colleague of mine who is a very good reporter. I can send you her number. The assistant replies, okay. Then, the assistant tells Shiyan, Zungshu can't do this interview because she's very busy, but she's arranged it with her colleague. Hearing this, Shiyan becomes jealous and angrily tells the assistant, go and prepare for the meeting. On the other hand, Shiyue again has come to attend Yu's lecture, but while lecturing, Yu notices Shiyue sitting there, sketching her. After class, Shiyue tells Yu, let's go have lunch, but Yu responds, I have a class, so I can't go with you. Just then, Yu's colleague arrives, asking him about lunch. Seeing this, Shuyue starts thinking, maybe Yu really has a girlfriend. In the next scene, Shuyue comes to meet Yu and gives water to him. Then Yu says, there's no need for this. I have some. Shuyue tells him, if you're free, can we go have dinner? Yu says, if you want to ask any questions, you can ask me in class. So Shuyue says, I want to ask you some emotional questions. So Yu says, maybe you don't know that I'm 30 years old, so I can't answer your emotional questions. Shiyan says, to answer these kinds of questions, we need to know each other. But Yu says, I have a class. Saying this, he leaves, and Shuyue feels very upset. Later, Zhengshu uploads a post on her WeChat while heading back. Shiyan is looking at Zhengshu's post, which says, today was very busy. Seeing this, Shiyan starts wondering, what could she be so busy with? In the next scene, Zhengshu is sitting with Siwei, supervising her draft. After Siwei finishes her work, Shiyan messages her, saying, how was your day today? Siwei replies, today was good. Zhengshu is back and guided me step by step at work. Later, Siwei tells Zhengshu, I'm heading home now. Meanwhile, Zhengshu is still working. Suddenly, Zhengshu gets a call from Shiyan asking her to come downstairs. As soon as she steps out of the office, an employee from the nearby restaurant hands her some food and says, you've been working for so long, I thought you might not have eaten, so I brought this for you. Zhengshu hesitates, but the boy insists, so she takes the food. He then asks, are you waiting for the bus? It's not safe to wait alone. I'll wait with you. Just then, Shiyan arrives and starts taking her away. He quickly asks, did you pay for this food? Zhengshu replies, no. So Shiyan quickly pays and leads her away, clearly jealous. Zhengshu asks, why did you come here suddenly? Shiyan says, I was just passing by, but then adds, Zhengshu, you're quite famous around here. As they approach the car, Shiyan carefully observes Zhengshu and starts fixing her hair. Zhengshu asks, do you want to eat this food? Shiyan dismisses it, saying, it's too late to eat. Zhengshu tries to sit in the back seat, but Shiyan shuts the door, saying, will you treat me like a driver now? Meanwhile, Yuling happens to see Zhengshu getting into the car with Shiyan and is shocked to see them together. As they drive away, Zhengshu's stomach growls, revealing her hunger. Shiyan glances at her, noticing. Zhengshu eyes the food in the back and asks, where are we going anyway? Shiyan smiles and says, we're going to have a midnight snack. Hearing this, Zhengshu is very happy and says, I want to eat noodles. They head off to enjoy some late-night noodles. When Zhengshu's order arrives, she asks Shiyan, are you really not going to eat? Trust me, it tastes very good. But Shiyan tells her, you eat. Zhengshu insists, you can't just order these noodles, you have to come here to eat. People wait in lines for these noodles. She then remembers that she used to come here with her ex-boyfriend, but she trails off and starts eating. Suddenly, she notices her ex-boyfriend Xing approaching with his friends. She quickly tells Shiyan, I have to go to the bathroom. She leaves just as Xing and his friends arrive. Xing's friends start teasing him. How did your breakup with Zhengshu happen? Hearing this, Shiyan listens closely. Xing says, she broke up with me, but it's normal. His friends joke. The people Zhengshu meets these days have a much higher status than you. This angers Xing, and he leaves from there. When Zhengshu sees that Xing has left, she returns to the table, looking a bit upset. Shiyan tells her, look up. Zhengshu checks on her phone and asks, did something get on my face? But then she smiles and says, it's as beautiful as before. Shiyan tries to ask her about Xing indirectly, but Zhengshu avoids giving a clear answer. Shiyan then asks, won't you eat your noodles? Zhengshu responds, I don't feel like it anymore. Hearing this, Shiyan leaves. As they're heading back, Zhengshu notices Shiyan's mood and wonders why he seems so down, but she soon falls asleep. When they reach her home, Shiyan wakes her up. As Zhengshu is about to go inside, Shiyan asks, don't you want to eat something before going to sleep? Zhengshu replies, sleeping without eating can disturb my sleep. She says goodbye to him, and Shiyan also says goodbye before leaving. At home with nothing to eat, Zhengshu sits down to order food. Meanwhile, Shiyan is heading to the market. Zhengshu, impatient, wonders, why hasn't my order arrived yet? Just then, there's a knock at the door. When Zhengshu opens it, no one is there, but a tiffin is lying on the ground. She picks it up, puzzled. I didn't order this. At the same moment, she gets a message from Shiyan. He sent the food and he's the one who delivered it. As Shiyan texts her, he's actually standing outside her house. His coat is dirty because he went back to the noodle shop, ordered the noodles for her, and packed them in the tiffin. While doing this, his coat got dirty. When Zhengshu looks out her window, she sees Shiyan walking away. As she eats the noodles, she feels so happy knowing how much Shiyan cares for her. She sends him a thank you message and they chat for a while over text. Today, when Yu is giving a lecture, one of his students starts recording it, making Yu feel a bit awkward. Then, Siyue receives a call from Yu. Surprised, Siyue says, "You called me yourself for the first time today." But Yu replies, "Don't send anyone to record in my class in the future." Siyue quickly apologizes. "I'm sorry, Yu." Yu continues, "The lecture you attend is a very basic course. If you don't have time, study it at home. And if you don't understand something, you can come to me at college and ask. But don't do this again." Despite the reprimand, Siyue is happy that Yu called her himself. Later, Zhengshu tells Shiyan, "I'll take you to dinner tomorrow to thank you." Shiyan agrees. "Okay," Zhengshu adds. "Then you come to pick me up after work." Shiyan sends an okay message. With this, the episode ends.